Alright folks, welcome to the first episode of Subsonic Sunday. Today's video, we are going to be shooting a bunch of different Subsonic 22 loads. So we basically have two sets of ammunition here that we're going to shoot on this target. The top set will be specialty rounds, shorts, CBs, calibres, that sort of thing, that are designed to be quiet and subsonic without any sort of suppressor added. They're just very low velocity, very low powder rounds. We're going to be shooting those out of the Marlin 781 up here, which is chambered in short, long, and long rifle. So that'll be a good test. We're going to be looking for overall sound, just the volume and the tone of the sound. We're also going to be using the chronograph to check the velocities, the advertised velocities, as well as just the consistency from shot to shot of those velocities on each type of these ammunitions here. For the bolt action rifle, looking first at the CCI Quiet. This is what the rifle is zeroed for. So we will be also testing the point of impact shift as we go along down the different types of ammo. That is a 40 grain bullet moving at 710 feet per second. So it's well under the sound barrier, which hovers somewhere around 1050. Next we've got some Winchester CB Longs. Just a little bit quiet, but actually chambered in a long, not a long rifle. This is where the bolt action chambered in all three, long rifle, and short, comes in very handy. Next is CB Shorts by CCI. This is also 710 feet per second, but a 29 grain projectile. On the lowest end of the power scale is going to be these 22 Super Calibres. These are 20 grain bullets moving around 560 feet per second according to the box. They are very quiet, and it'll be interesting to see what kind of accuracy and drop we get. We're going to shoot at 50 yards today. Now down here for our second set of ammo, we are going to be using the Ruger 1022 Takedown here. All of these are subsonic or standard velocity, which often is subsonic for 22. All of these should cycle in this 1022 semi-automatic action. So it'll be interesting to test again the consistency, the velocity, and the point of impact shift between all of these different rounds. We are going to start with CCI Standard velocity, which is what the gun is zeroed for. That is a 40 grain bullet moving at 1070, so it should remain under the sound barrier. It is the only standard velocity round we are shooting today. The rest are specifically designed to shoot subsonic, yet still function in semi-automatic rifles. Now, full disclosure, this 1022 does have a lighter spring kit installed. It's designed to run with subsonic and standard velocity, so your results may vary. A lot of semi-automatic guns like high-velocity ammunition. Winchester Subsonic 42 Max, 42 grain projectile, moving at 1065. Then we've got the American Eagle suppressor next, which is a 45 grain projectile moving at 970. So that sounds interesting, a little heavier, a little slower. Our CCI suppressor is the same way. We've got a 45 grain projectile moving at 970. Aguila subsonic, it's a 40 grain moving subsonic. It doesn't tell us exactly how much. And also we have 40 grain Remington subsonics to test out as well. So we'll get some velocity data on those that don't advertise, and it should be an interesting test. We've got all these targets set up here. We'll test the accuracy, the drop, and the general sound characteristics of all of these subsonic ammo selections. So without any further jabbering, let's get set up out at the range. Alright, here we are out at the range. We're going to shoot the bolt action first with all of our specialty light power loads. First up is our CCI Quiet. Now this is what the rifle is zeroed for. So we should be hitting pretty close to the center of the target, and we'll be comparing as we go along how that holds up throughout the different ammo choices. CCI Quiet's top left. Next up, Winchester CB Longs. Next up, CCI CB Shorts. Those are loud and hitting really low. That's quite bizarre. Okay, we only got 4 of those off, but that's alright. Gives us an idea. Just really surprised by that. The last one is Aguila Super Calibres. Super light, super slow round. By far the least powerful thing we're shooting all day. Sounds like it's hitting cardboard. It's got to be way low. You guys tell me. Yep, way down off to the other, to the lower row. That's where the bullseye hold. Alright, and again we only got 4 of those off, but that's okay. They have no accuracy or 50-yard capability here. Okay, that's it for our 4 bolt action cartridges. We're going to switch over now to the 1022. I forgot to mention I've got my SIG 30 caliber suppressor on the end of here. Nope, it's overkill. I get it. But you use what you got. Okay, CCI Standard Velocity Ruger 1022. Okay, our 42 grain Winchester Subsonics are next. Our Federal 45 grain suppressor is next. I believe this is the first copper plated round we've shot all day. That's generally a good thing for suppressors to keep lead fouling down. Okay, ignore that one fire there from Super Calibres. It dropped so low. Next up, CCI suppressor, 45 grain. Now, so far, the only thing that sounded like it went at all, possibly supersonic, were the CB shorts, believe it or not. It may have just been some crack out of the muzzle, but for some reason those were the loudest so far. Okay, CCI suppressor. Again, we have one that dropped way low from the top row. Ignore that. Wow. That was a really good group. That stuff, you could hear it hitting the wood backstop with a pretty good thump. Dead on point of impact with CCI Standard. Wow. Nice. Alright, on to the Aguila Subsonic 40 grainers. Okay, last target will be Remington Subsonics. I pulled that last one. I pulled that last one for sure. Okay, well, we'll get back in the house and check that out. Okay, well, we are going to discuss the 50-yard accuracy of these targets when we get in the house. And we may shoot, and then I think we will shoot more groups of the more accurate rounds, the more appropriate, the ones we think we might actually use. We'll shoot some more groups of those and take chronograph readings and dig a little deeper into accuracy and consistency and true velocity as well. So we'll see you in the house. Okay, we're back inside taking a look at the accuracy targets here. First up, we're looking at the bolt action Marlin, and our first ammo selection was CCI Quiet's 40 grain rounds moving at 710 feet per second. As you can see here, point of impact pretty center. That's because the rifle is centered to that ammo. As you can see, just a hair over 2 inches center to center group size at 50 yards. You know, not stellar, not bad, but keep in mind we're shooting off a single front rest. This is practical accuracy for a 22, not dead set bench rest type stuff here. Next, alright, next up was our Winchester CB Longs. They're also moving at 710 feet per second, but they are only a 29 grain projectile. And as you can see, the group size opened up a little bit. Still, for all plinking purposes, still fine. What are we looking at here? 3 inches. So, not too bad. Also, both of these rounds, very quiet. Not much difference between the two. The Quiet was just a hair louder, but for the performance of a heavier bullet at the same speed, I would go with the Quiet all day, especially in the 22-inch barrel of the Marlin. Very quiet. Okay, next we have to zoom way out here for the CCI CB shorts. These 29 grain projectiles moving at 710 feet per second. Very much like the CB Longs. Same speed, same bullet weight, same speed as the Quiets, but these had a ton of drop. There's something about these that is not as powerful, and you can see how much these 3 rounds here dropped below this one round, and believe it or not, one of these two down here actually came from that group as well. So we're looking at a 12-inch group at 50 yards. It's, I don't know, maybe more. It's terrible. So and also this I believe it was this highest round up here. When we fired this one, it was very loud. It almost sounded like it was supersonic. There was a little bit of a pop to it. So overall, the CB shorts, my Marlin 781 did not like them. Terrible group. Worst. Probably the worst. Hard to say between that and our next selection here. Okay, and last for the Marlin, for the bolt action, we had the Aguila Super Calibres. These are super light, almost cap loads. 20 grain projectile, moving at, when we chronographed it, about between 540 and 560 feet per second. Just super light, almost silent coming out of the long barrel. But as you can see, the drop was pretty bad, and accuracy not great at 55 yards. Granted, that's not what this or the CB shorts are designed for. Keep that in mind. So this drop would not be an issue if you were using them as intended for, say, maybe 20 yards and in, just as fun blinking rounds here. So our highest shot landed here. We have two more here, and then the last two actually landed below the target, if I'm not mistaken. The target cam will show us exactly where those rounds ended up. So our overall trend from start to finish, we did kind of shoot them in order of, say, power factor, if you were to calculate foot-pounds of energy on the target. First we had the heaviest round at the fastest speed with the CCI Quiets. And the accuracy was good, and the point of impact was good. And you'll see moving down the line, the lighter we get, the more it deteriorates at this distance, 50 yards. Too long for some of these light loads, obviously. So good, good with the CCIs, pretty good with the longs. The shorts started to go all over the place, and the Super Calibres are way too light to fly that distance with any effectiveness. So with that, we'll move on to the 1022 and the regular subsonic loads intended to cycle semi-automatic actions. Okay, on to the 1022 accuracy test with our regular subsonic ammo that will cycle a semi-automatic, at least if it's tuned properly, like my 1022 is, with a little bit of a lighter spring. I run standard velocity all the time. That's what the rifle is zeroed to. So with that, we've got a good point of impact, maybe slightly left, it looks like. That could be easily fixed. We just threw this scope on in a hurry for this test here. Usually run a red dot on the 1022. We're looking at, I'm going to call it right at 2 inches here for that group, so not bad. Interesting, same as the CCI Quiet. And those two rounds look identical. There's just less powder in the Quiets with a slower velocity. Next up, our 42 grain Winchester Subsonics. Now I think these are our hardest hitting bullets on the table today, and they were still very quiet. I should mention that they were a little bit quieter than the standard velocity, and they're actually moving just about, they're 5 feet per second slower, and that's all. These are 1070 here on the standard velocity, and these are 1065, but they are a 45 grain projectile, so that is more energy transfer downrange. I think at least out to this 50 yard mark that really holds true here. So perhaps our hardest hitting load, and not terrible in the accuracy department or the point of impact shift from my standard ammo. We're looking at what, I'm going to give it 2 1/4, maybe 2 1/2. So not bad overall, a little quieter than the standard velocity. Now on to the Federal American Eagle. This is also a 45 grain projectile, but moving significantly slower at 970. This is much more like the speeds of some of the things we shot in the upper row of targets here, and also like the next load that you'll see coming up. This is a slower round designed specifically for quietness, not power factor. This is the 1070 on the standard velocity and the 1065 on the Winchester. That's flirting with the edge of the breaking the sound barrier. Therefore, you're getting as much power as you can without becoming supersonic. The American Eagle here at 970 probably wasn't aiming for maximum velocity, but maximum volume or tone when shot out of a suppressor, hence the name American Eagle suppressor. So accuracy, okay, definitely bigger. 3¼ inches on that, 50 yards. Again, none of this is super precision. It's just a single front rest and reasonably controlled trigger pulls. Next, our best performer of the day, by far, the CCI suppressor, moving at 970, just like the American Eagle suppressor. They just move slower to sound better, less blast coming out of the end of the barrel. This round, however, seemed to be extremely accurate. Best for us today by a long shot. So this 40 grainer at 970 is somewhere in between the standard velocity and the quiets, but I believe it's made to a little bit of a nicer tolerance maybe, or something, or the charge weight just works, because this shoots excellent out of that 16-inch Ruger barrel. So we are looking at one inch. So we didn't have anything else under 2, and that one's at 1. Those holes at the top are from the super calibres that drop below. So that is by far our best group of the day. Also notably very quiet. 40 grain Aguila Subsonics. We don't have velocity information on these. It doesn't come provided, so at some point we'll measure them, but group of 4 inches. Not super impressed. If that was a flyer, we're still at 3, so nothing to write home about with the Aguila. It was quiet and it functioned. Okay, these Remington Subsonics don't have an advertised velocity, but I do believe they are lower. I believe they are sub 1,000 feet per second. They are 40 grain, as far as I can tell, or maybe 38, I believe. None of this is on the packaging, which is kind of disappointing. But anyway, they had a good point of impact and a pretty good group, and I'm pretty sure this one here is entirely my fault, but if you want to measure it, 3 inches, so by far not the worst today. If you want to give the benefit of the doubt to the ammo and me screwing up, we're going to give this a 1.5. So the Subsonic Remington, maybe not so bad. We're going to look further into some of our best candidates and their velocities coming up.